Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. Quite recently, I picked up a monster card, a card of a ball player, a basketball player that I never thought in a million years I would ever be able to acquire a card of, and it's George Mikan. Um, I don't have the card with me. Uh, what happened was I had a buddy of mine over to check out my collection, and he was going through the entire thing and said that I needed to grade about a dozen cards or so, probably actually 2 dozen in fact. And so he took it with him to get graded. And I will actually do another video on the cards that I got graded and the reason why I got them graded. I've never actually gotten a card graded ever. So this is quite new to me. And as I've told you guys in the past, I'm not the biggest fan of grading. I'm just not. I understand that there's certain reasons why you'd want to get your card graded for investment purposes, I guess, but more importantly, um, for insurance. And so this is kind of an insurance option, if you will. And the other thing too is if I ever go on to the card collector's field of dreams, someday that'll happen. But when that happens, and I still have my card collection, which I still will. I can't ever imagine me getting rid of my collection. But if the day comes where either A, I need to sell it, or B, I go off into the sunset, my family will know pretty much like what my collection is worth, and again how to dispose of it properly if they want to. They can keep it, but I don't think anybody in my family collects cards, and I don't think they really know a whole lot about what my collection entails. I just don't think they have any interest in it, which is kind of unfortunate. And that happens to a lot of collectors, in fact. The funny thing is that we get so heavily involved with our collections that we seem to think that everybody will enjoy our collections, and that's not entirely the case. Um, you know, kids usually, I guess, don't follow in their parents' footsteps. My dad collected cards, I'm pretty sure, when he was a kid, but he didn't collect cards as an adult. I collected all the way through as a kid and as an adult, and I think that there are a few different types of collectors. There's one type of collector that collects as a kid and stops and gets married, gets a job, college, the whole 9 yards, and they never go back. Then there's the collector that collects as a kid and stops and then comes back to the hobby because they have kids themselves and they enjoy the hobby through their children. And so, they may collect as well, again, themselves as an older adult. And then there are collectors who may not collect as a kid and they find the hobby um, really kind of like on their own as an older adult or maybe early teens or whatever. Um, that's kind of me in a way. As I told you guys, I stopped collecting cards, well, modern cards in 1994, and I went into vintage as a teenager, and I never stopped. So, um, as I was going through my collection with my buddy, he pulled out probably 2 dozen cards or so and said that these need to be graded. And I didn't realize the value in terms of value. Like, yes, I do pay something for these cards, but I don't really see them as an investment vehicle. I see them as a opportunity to learn, and that's how I use my collection. It may be a little unconventional, but um, again, I do love the hobby, and there are certain things about the hobby that really kind of drive me nuts, crazy. And then, for me, the hobby is it's a little different. I enjoy finding new people to talk with in the hobby and have shared experiences because I think that the hobby is best shared with other people. And then trying to find the cards themselves. And I'd say I'm more of a researcher and writer than I am a collector. And I collect a lot of cards, but um, the hobby to me is kind of like split down the middle. You have your cards, and then you have the people that surround the hobby and the research involved, and that's what I really enjoy the most is that section. Now, I do like to try to find new cards. I've been around for a long time, but I haven't seen everything, and I know I haven't seen everything, and I don't know everything. Um, there's always something new to learn about the players, the cards themselves, the factories that issued the cards, and the surrounding legislation or science or artwork or design or something related to the cards. And I think that's really fascinating stuff. A lot of it isn't really talked about. It's, to each his own, I guess. But there's a lot of, I don't even know, I don't like to use the word hobby influencer. That's a new word. It's- For me, it is. I'm not sure. Again, some people may say I'm an influencer. I don't know who I'm influencing. I just like to talk to you guys about sports cards and whatever else is surrounding the sports card. I don't ever consider myself an influencer. I'm not an influencer. I think I may have actually influenced other people, but in other ways by being me. So, for whatever that's worth. So, in this video, I'm going to tell you guys about George Mikan and his career. And when I do get that card in, I will show you the card. I want to kind of keep it a surprise. George Mikan is the Michael Jordan of basketball from the 1940s and 50s. He has, I believe, 7 championships under his belt with the Minneapolis Lakers. And again, that makes a lot more sense having Minneapolis Laker instead of Los Angeles Laker. I don't think there are any lakes in Los Angeles. And this actually this is a separate issue, but I think if you're going to move the team, you should change the name of the team, um, because there's certain teams that just it doesn't make sense. The Utah Jazz, for example, they were the New Orleans Jazz at one time. There are certain team names that are really cool. The Oklahoma Thunder, which I think is a really neat name. So the Indianapolis Colts are another team that should have changed their name when they moved from Baltimore, I believe in 1983. Um, that team name was because of the Preakness, I believe. You guys can double check me on that one, but I'm pretty sure the team was named after the horse racing. Now it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially in terms of where the team was located. So we do have these kind of nicknames that really don't make sense for the teams. But I always think it's kind of really interesting. And then there's something also really kind of interesting too with the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm going to show you that through the 1961 Flair. Okay, so this is the 1961 Flair basketball. A great set. It's one of my favorites. In fact, I love the design. And you know me, I'm a design freak. But what's really interesting about this is whoop, yeah, there we go. This right here. What the heck is a giraffe doing here? The reason why I say that is because nobody knows the answer to that. This is not the official logo of the Lakers from the time period, and it looks like something that just the company, whoever designed these cards, it looks like the company just came up with that design, and I guess they needed something, but nobody knows where that logo came from, and it hasn't been used since or even prior to this. So it's really kind of a mystery. I think the other mystery too is who actually printed these cards. Did Flair print these cards? Because I'm not entirely certain of that. A lot of times, in fact, most of the time, the issuing card issuing company were they were the ones that issued the obviously being redundant here, they were not the ones that printed the cards, and usually they contracted out to a third-party printer. Zabel Brothers was the printer for Gum Ink, and then I think Lord Baltimore at one point as well, and I think they had another printing company in the late 1930s. They experimented a little bit, and you can actually tell their experiments through 1939 to 1941, and then they got it down in 1950 in 1949. I think the Zabel brothers actually did the Bowman printing. So it's kind of all over the place. Same with Tops as well. Flair and Leaf. I think Leaf actually did their own printing, if I'm not mistaken, especially in 1949, 1960. I think they may have contracted out, or actually, they still may have had their printing, but I'm not entirely sure about that. This company, again, we don't know who the printer is, and we don't know who did the logos or the designs. Um, I'd love to find out at some point, but that is that is that. So let me go through some of George Mikan's stats. I think they're really impressive. He played from 1946 to 1956, and he was a five-time BAA NBA champion at 1949, 1950, 1952, 1953, and 1954. And oh, the BAA is the Basketball Association of America, and they merged in August of 1949 with the NBA. It's really very interesting history there. The early history of basketball, I think, probably around like 1945 through 1953, 1955, is a really fascinating time. There's a lot of changes going on in this league and in basketball in general, and George Mikan had a lot to say about this. And so he's also a two-time NBL champion as well, 1947 and 1948, a NBL MVP, 1948, four-time All-Star, 1951 through 1954, an NBA All-Star Game MVP in 1953, a six-time All BAA NBA First Team 1949 through 1954, a two-time All NBL First Team 1947 and 48, 1948 NBL Scoring Champ. He's also a three-time NBA Scoring Champion from 1949, 1950, and 1951. He's one of the greatest players of the first half of the century, and the NBA anniversary squad, he made the 25, 35, 50, and 75th anniversary teams. Sporting News Player of the Year in 1945. He had a really incredible college career as well. He's also a two-time Helms Player of the Year, which is the best college player of the country in 1944 and 1945. And he was a three-time All-American 1944, 45, and 1946, a World Basketball Tournament champion in 1948, and a two-time World Basketball Tournament champion MVP in 1946 and 1948. There's a reason why he's called the Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan, and it's partly because of this. It's also the way he played the game, and he really was one of the tallest players in the league when he played. The absolute monster. And so a lot of times the players were like my height and my build. And so you started seeing this also in football as well, where you got bigger and bigger players just enter the league, and they changed the rules, everything about it, to really kind of what it is today. In all honesty, I haven't watched a basketball game after Michael Jordan retired, and I really kind of don't plan on that. So take that as what you will, because I do talk about sports and history and all that, but I just don't watch sports today. I'd rather watch a game from 1950 or 1960 or 1952 Brooklyn Dodger World Series. Great World Series. You can catch all those World Series and clips of George Mikan play on YouTube. I don't really know how to. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce George Mikan's name. Is it George Mikan or George Mikan? I'm very famous for two things. One is being a decent pool player, and the other is screwing up the English language, which I personally enjoy doing. So, in any event, here's the article. I think you're going to enjoy it. This is from the Desert Sun, June 3rd, 2005, Palm Springs, California. NBA's first superstar dies. Dominating centers play forced several changes to game by Bob Baum. George Mikan, professional basketball's first dominant big man who led the Minneapolis Lakers to 5 championships and literally transformed the game, has died. He was 80. Mikan died Wednesday at a Scottsdale rehabilitation center following a long fight with diabetes and kidney ailments. 6'10", nearsighted with thick glasses, Mikan was so effective as a center at DePaul that he forced the NCAA to adopt a goaltending rule and later caused the NBA to double the width of the free throw line. Slow-down tactics used against him eventually led to the 24-second shot clock. Quote, George Mikan truly revolutionized the game and was the NBA's first true superstar, unquote, NBA Commissioner David Stern said. He had the ability to be a fierce competitor on the court and a gentle giant off the court. We may never see one man impact the game of basketball as he did and represent it with such warmth and grace. Mickens Lakers won 5 league titles in the past. Mickens Lakers won 5 league titles in the first 6 years of the franchise's history. A rough player, Micken led the league in personal fouls 3 times and had 10 broken bones during his playing career. He averaged 23.1 points per game in 7 seasons with Minneapolis before retiring because of injuries in 1956. Micken was the league's MVP in the 1948-49 season when he averaged 28.3 points, a phenomenal total in that era and leading the Lakers to the NBA title. He obviously was the first of the real high-profile players, Boston Celtics great Bob Cousy said. He gave us recognition and acceptance when we were at the bottom of the totem pole in professional sports. He transcended the game. People really came to see him as much as they came to see the game. A statue of Micken taking his trademark hook shot was dedicated at the Target Center in Minneapolis in April 2001 at the halftime of a Timberwolves Lakers game. When I think about George Mikan, I skip all the Wilt Chamberlains and Kareem Abdul-Jabbars and I call him the original big man. Current Minnesota star Kevin Garnett once said, without George Mikan, there would be no up and unders, no jump hooks, and there would be no label of the big man. In recent years, Mikan spoke out against the small pensions given to those who played in the league before 1965. Terry Mikan said most of his father's awards and memorabilia had been sold. Mikan received a monthly pension check of $1,700, his son said. This is from the same newspaper. Desert Resident recalls Mikan by Thomas St. Mayer. Arnie Ferrin only played 3 seasons in the NBA before he retired to pursue a profession that actually paid the bills. But in those 3 seasons, Ferrin collected memories that remain vivid today, and a number of them revolve around Minneapolis Lakers teammate George Mikan, arguably the best player of his time. Early Thursday, Ferrin learned from his Salt Lake City home that Mikan died at age 80. In 9 seasons with Mikan at center, the Lakers won 5 titles, and Ferrin played alongside him on 2 of the championship teams. George had an indomitable will to win, said Ferrin, who owns a house in Palm Springs that he stays at in the winter. When it came to crunch time, he wanted the ball to win. Ferrin said he remembers the road trips with the Lakers. To travel via train from Minneapolis to New York took 2 days. The Lakers traveled to road games via cramped trains, uncomfortable trips for someone the size of Mikan. After Ferrin retired from the Lakers in 1952, he stayed in contact with Mikan via the mail. An active philanthropist, Ferrin sought out Mikan for charitable memorabilia donations. Every year, I'd mail him 3 or 4 or 5 basketballs, and he'd always sign them, and we gave them to charities, he said. Farron last spoke to Mikan in person at a ceremony in April 2001 at the Target Center in Minneapolis, where the Minnesota Timberwolves unveiled a 9-foot statue of the Hall of Famer. The difference between a good player and a very good player is the sense he has, Barron said. He had an innate sense of knowing what you were going to do and where you were going to be. He will be missed. George Mikan is just a really phenomenal player. His cards are pretty expensive. Almost all of them are really expensive. He does have several cards out there. He's got 2 rookies, or 3 rookies actually. He's got the 1948 Bowman, which is one of the most expensive basketball cards there is. I think this card you can probably pick it up for about 5 or 6 grand, and that's probably the starting. And then it goes all the way up to 16,000 to 25,000 plus. It's really a very expensive card. I've seen this card a couple of times. I don't see it often. Probably about 5 or 6 times I've seen it throughout my quote unquote collecting career. And I have seen he's got another card too from 1948, and that's the Kellogg's Pep. And these cards are really small, and I'll show you what one looks like. So just to give you a size comparison here of what a 1948 Kellogg's Pep card looks like, this is a Kellogg's Pep. This is Humphrey Bogart, one of my favorite actors of all time, and this right here is a 1965 Topps, and let me just show you real quickly. You guys can see this. Oh, all right, so that's roughly the size of a 1948 Kellogg's Pep. Um, they're really kind of neat cards. I'll show you the back is really nothing to write home about, to tell you the truth. But there's a lot of football players in here. There's a lot of actors, boxers, baseball players as well. And it's a really neat set. And George Mikan's rookie is in this set. It used to be fairly affordable. When I say fairly affordable, I mean like you could probably get it for about $200. Now, I've seen it for well 400 plus, and that's not really affordable for me. But um, I also see a lot of those cards damaged as well. George Mikan also has a 1951 Scott's potato chips, and that's a Lakers team issue. Really neat set. Uh, they're hand drawn. I have actually never seen one of these cards in person. They are quite expensive. The ones that I have seen are through the internet and through auction catalogs, and they're always found in trashed condition. But again, that's probably one of his rarest, and again, it's very, very expensive. He's got a 1952 Wheaties as well, and that card is getting quite expensive as well. It was the least expensive of his cards, and he I think has a 1948 exhibit as well. And I've seen the exhibit once, and so it is out there. But again, he does have a few cards, and they're all expensive. Uh, Good luck if you want to collect a George Mikan card. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. Let me know what you think about George Mikan. If you have any cards or if there's any cards that you like of his, let me know. I'm always curious to see what you guys have to say, and I always try to respond as much as possible to your comments in the comment section below. And give me a like and subscribe if you will, so my videos can reach other people. And again, guys, I always appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.